समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया?
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है? अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
The 91-year-old ailing father of Captain Sumeet Sabharwal, the commander of the ill-fated Air India 171 that crashed right after takeoff from Ahmedabad, is now doubling down in his criticism of both the probe panel as well as officials from the investigation team that came to his house and he says acted in a professionally indefensible manner. Yesterday, we broke the story of the 6-page letter written by Captain Sumeet Sabharwal's father to the aviation minister as well as other government officials. Today, Captain Sabharwal's father has taken his fight one step further. He has also written emails to major pilot federations, including the Federation of Indian Pilots, and he has revealed how 2 officials from the investigative team came to visit him in his house under the pretext of offering condolences. He goes on to describe how these officials then pushed a line which basically suggested that his son, Captain Sumeet Sabharwal, had in fact moved the fuel control switches. He says that these insinuations were made outside the mandate of any professional context and hence the behavior is absolutely unacceptable. In fact, the phrase he uses for it is professionally indefensible. This is the new email sent by Captain Sumeet Sabharwal's father to the Federation of Indian Pilots. And these are really shocking new details that are emerging at this point of how the AAIB officials met at the AI pilot's father's house. They came under the pretext of condolences and they then tried to push a line. In fact, he writes in the emails that the officials insinuated that my son moved the fuel control switches. Earlier, in a 6-page letter to the government, Captain Sumeet Sabharwal's father shut down suicide theories, taking on head-on rumors of his mental health as linked to his divorce or his mother's death. I'm Barkha, you're with the Mojo Story. Our focus all these months later continues to be on the different ramifications of the Air India 171 crash, and we are asking whether justice will ever be served. Now, a 91-year-old father of the commander of the plane has basically in 2 separate letters, one a 6-page letter to the aviation minister, another an email sent to the Federation of Pilots, had said that even at 91, he is seeking justice for his son. He says, I write as the bereaved father of Captain Sumeet Sabharwal, and I am here to seek justice. His letters have gone, as I mentioned, to the aviation minister, but in a new email sent to the Federation of Pilots, there are shocking details emerging, new details of how probe panel officials met at Captain Sumeet Sabharwal's father's house. They came under the pretext of offering condolences, and then they started insinuating that Sumeet was responsible for moving the fuel control switches. In his letter to the Federation of Pilots as well as to the government, Captain Sumeet Sabharwal's father says his son's reputation has been tarnished, and unless there is a clarification from the government that all these insinuations are entirely speculative, he believes that a big cover-up is taking place. He questions the clean chits that have been given to Boeing as well as other manufacturers. To decode both of these missives, one sent to the government, the other sent to the federations, I want to welcome our 2 guests on the program today. I'm joined by Captain Sharat Panikkar, who of course has flown in the Dreamliner as well as been an Air Force veteran. Thank you very much. And we're also joined by Captain Amit Singh, who of course is the founder of Safety Matters, the Safety Matters Foundation. Thank you very much, both of you. Wing Commander Sharat Panikkar, I'll start with you. And, you know, there are two sets of letters that we now have. One is the 6-page letter that was sent by Captain Sumeet Sabharwal's father to the aviation minister, among others. And we'll have the key points of it up on our screen shortly. This is the new letter that we have, which talks about how on the evening of 30th August, a group of AAIB officials visited my residence. I'm just going to read out the operative bit. Under the pretext of offering condolences. However, they went beyond their mandate. They spoke in innuendos and they insinuated, basis a selective CVR interpretation and a so-called layered voice analysis, that my son had moved the fuel control switches from run to cut off after takeoff. The father goes on to say, if we can have the second slide come up, that this insinuation was made outside the framework of an official report. It was procedurally improper and professionally indefensible. It amounts to the character assassination of a pilot with an unblemished 30-year career and over 15,000 hours of safe flying. This premature attribution of blame raises the specter of a cover-up by reducing complex systemic failures to a simplistic pilot error narrative. Now, this is the new email sent by Captain Sabharwal's father to the Federation of Pilots, the FIP, which we have access. There's also a 6-page letter. Can we also have those slides up, which actually takes on, whispers about Sumeet's divorce, whispers about Sumeet's mother's death. The father talks about all of this. He says the divorce was 15 years ago. The mother's death was 3 years ago. The main points are on the screen. I want your reaction. So 2 letters, one to the government, one to the Federation, both basically saying that my son is being character assassinated. I want a formal new probe. I want the government to clarify that these are only speculative whispers, and otherwise I'm going to court. That is the sum and total of how the father is now responding. Your thoughts, Wing Commander?
Amit.
Yeah.
Basically, my idea of this letter, or my reaction to this letter, is basically this. First and foremost, the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau members had no business talking to an elderly gentleman on any matter other than offering condolences.
Yeah.
The fact that the old gentleman has said categorically, and he's put it down in writing, that they have insinuated or otherwise suggested that Sumeet is the only person responsible for this, is beyond my understanding. They have no business doing that, in my opinion. Okay, Barkha, I'll take a minute on this. First and foremost, it seems to me that this is a battle of public perception. The narrative has been shaped in such a fashion that the main people involved in this, namely Boeing and GE, seem to be above board and they appear to have been cleared by the AAIB themselves. Thereafter, there's been statements from various quarters, including I say, the NTSB chairwoman, who made a statement that it appears that this is what has happened, that the pilots themselves were responsible for switching off the engines simultaneously within a period of 1 second, and that is what caused the crash. If everybody is so clear about what actually happened, where is the need of the probe? In this preliminary report itself, they could have said that this is the reason. End of story. There is nothing more to investigate. If you have squarely put the blame on the pilots, that one of them has switched off the engines and then afterwards made it a cover-up, a professional, I would say, a professional suicide bid planned in such a fashion, then there's no end to it, no? There is no investigation result.
And you are saying, just to be clear, Wing Commander Panikkar, you are saying that these AAIB officials had no business having this conversation with a 91-year-old man. What is the context? Because he actually says that when they came, they said they were there to offer condolences, and then he says they went beyond their mandate and basically quoted this CVR to him. Why are they quoting it to the father and saying that the son had moved the fuel control switches? I mean, why would these officials be having this conversation, even if they believe that this is what has happened? Why would they be having this conversation with an elderly man in the twilight of his life? It's not as if he's an investigator. It's not as if there's any evidence at his house.
Exactly. So the main point of the matter is both these issues which have been resolved as far as suicidal tendency is concerned, quoting one, a divorce that has happened 15 years back. 15 years is a long period of time. Nobody's got any business of raising that at all. It is irrelevant to this case. 15 years has passed. The water has flown under the bridge. There is nothing more to it. The death of his mother 3 years back, while the death of a parent is an emotional event, take it to the fact that she's an elderly lady. Okay, these are part of life. There has been enough time over and above that to have recovered from it. And in any case, 3 years after the event and connecting both the issues towards suicidal tendencies, no, I don't think this is the case at all. There is clearly some technical issue at fault out here. This should be investigated in detail, find out what happened. In my earlier conversations with you and your viewers, I had mentioned in detail as to how it is physically not possible to switch off both the fuel control switches within a period of 1 second. It is more indicative of an electrical signal. You can have 30 electrical signals in 1 second. There are 100, 200 parameters being recorded at practically every second and spaced 1 second apart. So I don't think that it is just as simple as some pilot-induced incident which has led to this. It is more indicative of an electrical signal. So my question is, please investigate as to what actually happened. Was it an electrical fault? Was it a water issue? Was it a malfunction of the EEC or the FADEC? Find out what happened. The fact that there are 1,200 Dreamliners flying across 50 different airlines in the world today, this is a safety issue. You've had something exceptional that has happened. They're still flying. And again, if you look at from a very, very objective point of view, who stands to benefit from such an insinuation? Boeing stands to lose as much as $500 million every day in compensation if these Dreamliners are grounded, right?
Yeah.
GE stands to, their reputation stands to be tarnished. We do not know actually what happened. So please investigate, find out what has happened instead of seeing the point of easiest convenience. So this letter goes to the Civil Aviation Minister and to the ALPA are the workings of an agitated mind who cannot see his deceased son, his reputation being dragged in the mud. Very, very valid. Any family member or any colleague for that matter who is put through such a situation would be deeply offended and would be deeply unhappy at the rate at which the narrative is unfolded.
I want to bring in Captain Amit Singh now. Captain Amit Singh, when we were talking last evening, at that time we had accessed the 6-page letter written by Captain Sabharwal's father to the aviation minister, as well as other officials in the aviation ministry, as well as the AAIB. Now we have new information. If we can just show that on our screen, we have accessed the email sent by Captain Sabharwal's father. And let's remember, he's 91. And one of the really moving lines in this email is that he says he's writing as the bereaved father of Captain Sabharwal, seeking justice to save the reputation of his son. He reveals very directly in this that the AAIB officials came to meet him. They came on the pretext of offering condolences. And as I was mentioning to Sharad sir, they then went on to basically talk to the father about how his son had moved the fuel control switches. And he says this was outside their mandate. It was outside the official framework. He finds it speculative. He says it's professionally indefensible. What do you think of this fact that the AIB, he's saying, came to meet him? Apparently 2 doctors.
Yes, so procedurally, this is incorrect. What people don't know is as soon as an accident happened, there's something called a family assistance program, which is put into effect, which includes a number of people who will psychologically assist those who have lost their near and dear ones. So anytime even AIB wants to visit or anybody wants to visit, those people have to be present because they have to look after the mental health of those affected. So AIB people coming in without informing is a no. They cannot do that. That is against the principle of family assistance, and basically asking such questions without any witness present. So
So
instead
you
of
believe, that when the father says they've acted in a professionally indefensible manner, and it is outside their mandate, and it's outside the framework of an official report, he's correct.
absolutely correct, because at this stage, the family assistance program people have to be there looking after, like the captain's father, Mr. Sabharwal, and not people coming in without informing him on the line of questioning that they're supposed to do. So if a doctor comes in, anyways, this is not a doctor's, does not come under the doctor's purview also, who
Yeah.
moved the fuel control switches. So this is basically called priming in psychology. They're moving away from the technical part to the psychological part. If you keep priming a person or a population, feeding them bits of information repeatedly, so if you keep repeatedly saying suicide, 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 a lot of people will start believing suicide. That is priming people. So
Yeah.
everywhere, if you in the media, in the print, in the news, if you hear about the same things, so then people start believing. So the narrative completely moves away from the technical part, whereas this has to be a balanced investigation, wherein
Absolutely.
at this stage you cannot reach any analysis or conclusion, because everything is open. The engines have not been analyzed, the fuel control switches have not been analyzed, they have been sent to the manufacturer. So they will be returned after a deep analysis. So without that, it is totally inappropriate to approach any of the family members, and especially asking such pointed questions.
Yeah,
Uh,
and and
and
Amit, they don't even seem to be asking questions. If you go by his email, they are basically saying, they're actually informing him. If you look at this
yeah,
email, this says, however, they went beyond their mandate, speaking in innuendos and insinuating on the basis of selective CBR interpretation and a so-called layered voice analysis. I don't know what that is. That my son had moved the fuel control switches from run to cut off after takeoff. Now, if these are doctors, as our sources say they were, one, as you mentioned, what is the connection? Why are the doctors talking about fuel control switches? Two, they cannot meet the father under false information. They cannot say, we just want to offer our condolences for the loss of your son, and then get into this conversation. Three, they're not investigators. Even if their task is to make an assessment of the mental health of the pilots, I mean, it seems a little bit to me out the outset, if this email is true, manipulative to meet an old man, 91-year-old man like this and have this conversation.
so it is possible that they might have known that there is a possibility that the courts will be approached or something of that sort. So that is why they're trying to basically put him on the back foot, put this the scenario in his mind, and which will keep on playing in his mind. So
Yeah.
now he's alone, so that will keep on playing in his mind. That at some point he will start believing him that this might be true. At percentage might vary, 40%, 50%, but there would be it would be occupying his mind for a long time. A person sitting idle, and especially after a loss, will basically be convinced of, because this is the official version. Officials are coming in,
Yeah.
and supposedly they have the data. So that is why we have been asking, give us the data. The public has the right to data, right to information. Under the right to information, it has to be disclosed so that people can know the truth, and this narrative should be broken. And technical part should be analyzed first. So what I also want to highlight is that the same aircraft, VT-A and B, had suffered a cockpit smoke incident in 2015. And that report is not available on the DGCA website. Another incident happened,
This same exact aircraft.
exact aircraft. How it got revealed is another aircraft, VT-ANE, in 2018, I think, suffered a smoke incident, same smoke incident. And in that report, it was written that similar incident happened on VT-A and B in 2015. And the aircraft diverted, declared emergency and diverted. What was it due to? Because of a compressor, the air conditioning part, there's a compressor. And because of the electrical short circuit, that caused smoke, which means there is an electrical issue in the aircraft that caused the smoke. So the smoke was
So let
secondary,
me get
but
this right. Let me get this right. You're saying that this aircraft had suffered basically two smoke incidents. One revealed a second
one.
one. No, what?
No.
Say again.
So another registration, VTANE,
Yeah.
suffered a smoke incident in 2018. And in
Okay.
that investigation report, which is available on the DGCA website, it
Yeah.
says that similar incident happened on VTANB in 2015.
And you're saying that report is not available.
That is not available. But
I
the
see.
cause of this smoke is electrical short circuit. So there was some electrical disturbance. So what we are saying is that there is a high possibility that there is an electrical disturbance which could have caused the fuel valves to close, not the fuel control switches to move manually, but the valve could have got closed because of the electrical signal being transmitted to the FADEC.
So I want to get in, Wing Commander Sharath at this point. Just to add, I was interviewing the U.S. Attorney Mike Andrews, who's representing now at least 100 families, close to 100 families who are suing Boeing, and he connects water leakage, on which there is an FAA, I think, directive, to this possibility of an electric signal and an electrical malfunction. So go ahead, pick this up.
Before I come to what you just mentioned, I want to continue with what Amit has just mentioned.
Yeah.
On the 23rd of May this year, Air India 145 from Goa to Gatwick, it had a problem with its air-to-ground sensor. The same aircraft. Okay?
The 787, when was this?
On the 23rd of May, Air India 146 Goa to Gatwick.
Okay. Same aircraft or same model?
Same aircraft, VTANB.
Okay.
This happened during flight. We had this indication out there. When I say we, I mean the aircraft had this indication. And roughly after about 30 minutes, this warning or this caution or this information or a status message, as it is called, went off during flight.
And what was the problem? And what was the problem? If you can elaborate, what happened on 23rd May?
The air-to-ground sensor. There was some problem with the air-to-ground sensor. Just to give you an information, a lot of aircraft systems operate on this principle of whether the aircraft is in the air or on the ground. Right? There are multiple inputs coming from multiple sensors that tell the aircraft systems, it's a highly computerized aircraft, that the aircraft is either on the ground or in the air. So this inputs come from, let's say, the undercarriage. Let's say it comes from certain extension devices. It comes from other inputs, which tells the aircraft systems, which tells the brain of the aircraft, look, you're on the ground, or look, you're in the air. Once the aircraft is airborne, and this transition takes place from ground to air, it comes back to ground after having been in the air only once the aircraft lands. Right?
Okay.
In flight, throughout, the indication as far as the aircraft brain is concerned should be that the aircraft is in the air. Right? Now, these inputs come from, like I said, from various sensors. And if there is a problem with one of the sensors, or if there is a problem with the system per se, then this indication comes up in the cockpit, either as a status message or as a caution.
So you're saying this air-to-ground sensor on the same aircraft, this problem takes place on the 23rd of May, the crash happens on the 12th of June. Just putting the timelines out there. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. Yeah.
So now this indication was there in one of the flights that preceded the crash. Right? There was some sort of an issue which obviously has been resolved. That's the reason why the aircraft is flown back from Gatwick. But there was an issue. So in continuation to what Amit just mentioned, there are various inputs that are available to the aircraft, one of which was a malfunction of this. Now coming to your part of it.
Yeah.
There was a directive from Boeing itself regarding water. Now I have seen this myself. Now the situation is like this. Where we operate in monsoon conditions, or we operate in conditions in which there is likely water ingestion. Likely water ingestion could be either from the what we call the first door on the left through which passengers normally come. It's called L1. L standing for left, door number 1. or it could be you've got the entire forward galley just behind the cockpit. You've got a toilet system just behind the cockpit. So if there is an internal leak, water obviously being subject to the force of gravity will find its own level at some point in time and it will seep below. The entire electronics component bay is just below the cockpit. So this is an issue in which this has been highlighted earlier also. If water is dropped either from a leaky faucet or it's dropped from one of the chillers or it is dropped from any other means, there is a possibility of some sort of an electrical interaction stroke malfunction happening in the electronics bay, which is just below the cockpit. So that is the issue which you have just raised. There is an issue that if something like this has happened, do keep in mind that the 12th of June, there is, while the weather itself is fine, there could be other possibilities of either water coming in, either through a faucet or through a leaking pipe or through something. Obviously, if the water drops, it will go below. It will go
So
below
both of you seem agreed that at this moment an electric malfunction, either induced by water leakage or by something else, is something that investigators should have been looking at. You have also shared a technical flaw that this same aircraft reports on the 23rd of May. Obviously, it is resolved and that's why the aircraft is deemed fit to fly. But basically, the point is there are enough FAA directives available that, you know, the investigators should be looking in those areas as well. I'm not saying exclusively an investigation has to look at only one line of questioning, but here, as Captain Sumeet Sabharwal's father's letter points out, he uses the phrase, there are copious clean chits being given on the one hand and insinuations on the other. I want to take concluding remarks from both of you, if we can briefly. I'll start with you, Captain Amit Singh. Where do we go from here? I want to return to the two letters written by the ailing father of Captain Sumeet Sabharwal, both to the government, the minister, as well as now to the federations, revealing that the AAIB, he says officials, my information is there were doctors, came to him and basically said, your son moved the fuel control switches. He's also literally gone into every detail. No parent would like to talk about their dead child's divorce, mental health. He's done it. He has said, if we can please show those slides on our screen, he has spoken about the divorce being 15 years old, the mother's death being 3 years old. He's spoken about 100 flights since Sumeet's mother died, and he's basically taken on these suicide rumors and he said it's absolute innuendo, it's tarnishing my son's reputation, and he's taken on every aspect that has been linked to Sumeet's mental health. Now he's written to the federations revealing these officials came to meet him. Where does it go from here? It looks like the father is getting all set to go to court.
Well, it seems like it has to go to the court because one, as I said, the family assistance program, one of the objective is to keep the family informed by a daily briefing. So you have to tell them what is happening in the case. You have to communicate. How is the case progressing? What does the investigation reveal day by day? So that has not been done. So communication has been zero. Nobody's being informed. And if you see, right in the beginning, there was a big rush to give a clean chit to the manufacturers, Boeing and GE. So not only did the preliminary investigation say no technical recommendations, but the report was released 2 o'clock in the morning, which is about 5 in the evening in Washington. And NDSP on the same evening issued an international letter. They're supposed to issue an international bulletin to all concerned that there is nothing wrong with the aircraft or the engines. While in the case of the Boeing 737 MAX, NTSP took 1 week to issue that letter. So what was the hurry, the urgency that the same evening they have issued that letter? So clearly there is a sense of urgency to give a clean chit, and they cannot afford the grounding of the whole fleet.
And that makes it suspicious, and that raises your suspicions. Quickly, Wing Commander Panikkar, the FAA directive, the airworthiness directive on the water leakage is on the screen. Just wanted to pull it up to show it. And, the FAA, it ends by saying, is issuing this AD, which is the Airworthiness Directive, to address the unsafe condition on these products. We've earlier seen also issues related to the quality of titanium. There's been some speculation about the batteries because of the way the black boxes were found. So go ahead, quick last word. I'm thinking of this old, aging father in his 90s trying to get justice for his son's reputation. Just last thoughts on that.
Okay, I would first try and say that it's a battle of public perception.
Yeah.
Okay? The narrative has been so shaped to shift the blame only to the pilot. As simple as that.
Yeah.
Our line of thinking is, please have a good look at what is happening. You're talking about everybody has become an expert on Dreamliners. Okay, so now a situation has come that people who have actually flown the aircraft, people who actually have experience, they're not so much being consulted, or they're not coming forward with saying as to what has actually happened. All that we're trying to say is, please find out what actually happened. As far as this letter itself is concerned, my thinking is that the Civil Aviation Ministry and the Civil Aviation Minister would have to respond to it either one way or the other. If the response is not satisfactory, I am inclined to believe that Sumeet's father is likely to go to court. And
absolutely.
Just to tell you, one more minute I'll take about this battle of public perception. Operation Sindoor, resounding success for India. And what is the net result? The citizens of Pakistan are convinced that they have won the war. And their general has now been promoted to Air Marshal. I mean, not to Air Marshal, to Field Marshal.
Field Marshal, yeah.
Yeah, to a Field Marshal. And what does it tend to indicate? That the battle of public perception is equally important. And at this point in time, I would say that the forces against the pilot lobby that does not believe that it is a pilot error, and the convenient truth, which is there, that if you blame the pilots, the rest of us are free. So I would say that it is very important that the AIIB, if they know the truth, if they've got all the data available with them, and today they have a very experienced pilot as a consultant on board, they should be able to tell us very clearly as to what actually happened.
Yeah, and I
21-year-old gentleman is out of question. This is trying to set up a situation in which you are trying to say that, Sumeet is psychologically affected by the death of his mother, by his divorce 15 years back. He wouldn't have operated 300 flights 100 flights and so many thousands of hours without a problem.
Yeah.
Since that happened.
Absolutely.
It's normal. And one fine day you decide that, it's too much for me. And we'll take you down.
And I'll just say in the end that the fact that it has now officially been stated by Sumeet's father that the AAIB officials came and they made all these allegations, the AAIB will have to respond as well to this allegation that basically their people were coming and saying this to an elderly man, and the government too. It would be important to see how the aviation minister responds. Captain Sumeet Sabharwal's father's letter is addressed directly to the aviation minister. And now we are coupling that with shocking details that are emerging of how two officials come under the pretext of offering condolences to this elderly man and basically tell him that your son moved the fuel control switches. And nobody is even looking at the manufacturers, GE, Boeing, all of them. And so, yes, I think this is headed to court. It is going to be a long, torturous battle for justice for this elderly man in the twilight of his life. And I guess it will now be left to the pilot community to rally behind him to try and get to the bottom of what happened and why. Thank you, Captain Amit Singh, Captain Panikkar, as always, and we'll keep following every development of this Air India 17 crash. Thank you for watching. See you soon.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.